Welcome to all of you to the first ever Google Hangout in the general insurance industry. For those of you who are not familiar with Google Hangout, it's an increasingly popular tool to combine people from various locations in form of a video conference. I hope you enjoy today's session. The topic we'll be talking about is innovation. For the past couple of weeks, we've asked all of you to submit your ideas, either industry-related ones or those specifically related to Bajaj Allianz as an organization. For those of you who haven't had time to do that, you can still do that as we're discussing, and they'll come up on the screen and we will discuss them in the next 1 hour. I'm Annika Rath, your host of the session, and I would now like to introduce Mr. Tapan Singhel, our MD and CEO. Welcome, Tapan.
Thank you, Annika. It's a pleasure being here. When I look at the insurance industry, especially the general insurance space, and here we talk about customer service, customer excellence, I think somewhere get just bogged down by a couple of things, that how fast can we give the policy? If somebody is giving in 1 hour, can we give in 50 minutes? How fast can we settle the claims? Somebody is doing in 3 days, can we do it in 2.5 days? But that to me does not really take it to a different shift as far as customer service is concerned. But if I look at the entire industry, I think when we take the customer in, we are hardly bothered about the customer in terms of his profile, in terms of his information. And when we pay claims, mostly we look at as if the claim is not right. With this attitude of the industry, I don't think we are really in the right space for customer service. Though as a company at Bajaj Allianz, we may be rated as one of the best companies by analysts. We may be capturing market share, making profit, and have the least of grievances. But it still does not make me happy. We have to take it to the next level, and that is why precisely I thought it's best that we take some views from the experts that we have who have been part of the industry for so long time and see what can we do to take the industry to the next level, B, make Bajaj Allianz better than what it is today. Thank you, Annika, for hosting us.
So on the panel today, we thought we'd provide a variety of people from the industry. So we will have the banking editor for Times of India, Mr. Mayur Shetty, who will be joining us from Bombay. It's a pleasure to have you on the session. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Mayur, my old friend, I don't think anybody in the journalist space should be knowing more than Mayur as far as the insurance industry is concerned. We have been watching him write about insurance for at least now 6-7 years, and his in-depth understanding of the industry, the way he has tracked it, the way he has been covering it, has been amazing. We are so honored to have you here, Mayur, and I'm sure that we'll be able to have a very good discussion today going forward.
Thank you, Tapan. You're being very kind. Thanks.
In order to give you a variety of representatives from the customer point of view, we have one direct customer with us. We have representatives of some of the most critical distribution channels for the industry with us, which would be represented, if I start in line with the customer, by Pradeep Kumar Sinha, the corporate insurance head from L&T Larsen & Toubro, one of India's most renowned companies, specifically known for the work they are doing in engineering and construction, but also various other aspects. Welcome to have you on the show.
It's such an honor to have Mr. Sinha on the show. He is also my senior from the industry, and his exposure right from international markets to the domestic market, to establishing growth, to handling the biggest financial conglomerate, to handling one of the biggest clients. I think his depth and understanding of insurance would be one of the best as far as India is concerned. We are so honored to have you, Mr. Sinha, on this show.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Tapan. Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation.
The representative from the broker side would be Nikunj, Nikunj Shah, who is the CEO and director of Loyal Insurance Brokers and also the founder of Insurance at Click. It's an honor to have you with us today. Welcome.
If I look at Nikunj, I always say that he is one of those futures of the industry. The kind of presence he has, the attitude towards business, the collaborative work that he does, and the huge customer focus that is there. Watch this boy and give him another 10 years or so. I'll be surprised if he does not dominate the insurance industry as one of the stalwarts in times to come. I'm so happy to have you here, Nikunj, with us. A pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Tapan. Thank you for invitation.
Then we have Mr. Mukund Dabir, who is one of our top agents and who has been in the insurance industry in the private sector since 2001 and who has worked for Bajaj Auto for the 25 years prior to that. It's an honor to have you with us.
Mr. Dabir would be one of those classic cases where as an engineer he worked with a manufacturing concern, then he moved on, took an agency way back in 2001 and is one of the most successful agents. So he's not only professionally trained, he also understands the financial part and gives one of the best customer advice. And you'd also be happy to know that his daughter has been selected for the Indian women cricket team, and she may actually be playing the World Cup also. It's such an honor to have you here, Mr. Dabir. Welcome.
So nice of you to give me such a big platform. I'm thankful for the same, and really great to work with this association for long 13 years leading. Thanks a lot, sir.
We'll continue with the introduction. We have Dr. Renuka Kanvinda with us today. She is working with our health administration team, our in-house health claims handling team, and they are also overlooking our overseas travel claims. It's an honor to have you with us, Renuka.
Good to see you here, Renuka. Renuka is one of our most spirited employees, and whatever little praise that we get in terms of health administration, and some of it is that we are rated one of the best in terms of claim servicing and health, is because of such exemplary employees as Renuka, who made huge difference to our company and the way it works. Welcome, Renuka. Happy to have you here.
Thank you very much, Tapan sir. Very good afternoon to you, and very good afternoon to all others who are a part of the Google Hangout today. It's a real pleasure to be interacting with everyone through this medium. Thank you very much.
Then to bring new thoughts to the picture, or to start with someone who has just joined the industry, Trinity Murthy. He studied at the National Insurance Academy, comes from an army background, and joined the insurance company to build a solid foundation for his career. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you, Mark. Honor to be here.
I always believe that it is the youngsters who would bring in the different change of ideas and thoughts. Sometimes when we are too old in the system, we keep on thinking the same way. So we thought it good to have a student amongst us and have his view also, what he thinks about the industry and what he thinks that we should be doing more than anything else. So thank you all for being on the panel, and we move to the next questions.
So as we were discussing, we already have a couple of questions who've come up, so we can just address them immediately. After that, I would then ask you to share those thoughts that you have on innovations with Tapan and take the discussion forward. As the technology is becoming more and more important, one of the questions that came in was relating to submitting your claims and making your insurance payments through a mobile application. Tapan, is the team working on that?
It's a good thought. I basically believe the way the technology is moving and the pace at which it is moving, the current systems will become redundant. At Bajaj Allianz, we've been working on setting up claim processing, claim settlement, policy issuance through applications and through the tablet. In fact, now on your mobile phone, for my distributors, they can issue policies straight to the customers using the application, and they can also use it for settling claims up to the limit of 20,000, which is allowed by IRDA. So that is on, and I'm happy to announce that in Pune, about 2,000 claims have been settled using the applications, and about 15,000 policies have been issued using the applications. This will become more and more relevant and strong as time progresses. But good for this comment, because I'm fully for this, and this come from Angikar from Calcutta. Angikar, thank you for this comment, and we'll be designing it to make it more and more convenient, where customers also can, in a way, be involved in the claim settlement, and they can upload their own data information, and we can see how do we settle claims straight to the customer. This is exactly what I was trying to mention, that as a company, as an industry, why don't we trust our customers, and if they submit documents, why can't we take that as right and just settle claims straight there and then? We are close to it. Angikar is not very far when you actually see this happening. In fact, for the home policy, we are coming out with solutions where the customers can upload claim documents and settle it straight from the company here. So thank you for your comment.
Another question came in regarding to loyalty programs. So the question is whether you see an opportunity for customers to also operate as brand ambassadors and encouraging their friends and family to join Bajaj Allianz as their trusted partner in insurance.
This comment I see has come from Puneet. Puneet, that's a very strong comment. I basically believe, and I think in one of my statements I made, that at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance Company, we're not looking at any big film stars or some celebrity to be our brand ambassadors. Our brand ambassadors shall be our customers and employees. It is when we add value in terms of our company, and when you have this wow experience, then you take it forward. From a loyalty perspective, we are looking at adding solutions which is beyond insurance. What I mean by this is, let's say, and this is something very close to my heart. If you look at all the newspaper reports and about the way women feel insecure on the road, maybe when it's a bit late night, I was thinking that, let us say if somebody is driving from Gurgaon to Delhi. I'm mentioning this because I've stayed in Delhi for about 7-8 years. And towards evening, there's no good public transport, and it's about 9 or 10 in the evening, and on a desolate road, there's a tire puncture, and there's a lady driving it. What would she do? It can create a kind of panic. We have a solution by the name of 24/7, and which to my woman customer, I'm offering it as an add-on to their motor policies, where she can just dial a number, and we have professional expertise. People will come, change the tire, or the fuel runs out, they come with some kind of small fuel supply so the car carries on. Or if you have noticed that the battery conks out, no, we actually do also have a situation where that can be replaced or charged. So they feel secure and they feel safe. Similarly, for home insurance, we're looking at a solution where it's a plumbing requirement or electrical requirement. When can we provide that solution? So for us, basically, the way we look at loyalty is that for customers who have been there with us, can we go beyond just issuance of policies, settling of claims? Can we take the experience beyond insurance, and can we look at a relationship on that basis? I think on the automobile sector, we have done it. On the home, we are developing it. And if you have any more ideas where we can look at such kind of solutions, we'll be happy to implement it in Bajaj Allianz.
Another question is, first of all, a compliment to the team of Bajaj Allianz relating to the handling of claims on Facebook. Now, the question that comes in is, would it be possible for people to also use Facebook as a tool to then log in and renew their policies online? What are your thoughts on this?
This has come from Raipur, Rajesh, and this is again an interesting phenomenon. I'm watching from the tier 2, tier 3 cities. People are using social media more actively compared to others. Thank you, Rajesh, for this suggestion. We'll definitely get it implemented as soon as possible. It actually is a good solution. In fact, if I look at my Facebook for the company, we have about 2 lakh follows on that. But your idea gives me a good thought in terms of how can we use that to enable them to interact more with the company on a direct basis in terms of either policy issuance or looking or talking about their claims. Thank you, Rajesh. We'll look into it.
And, I would like to go to the last question before we then turn to the panel. We might also be able to use that for the panel. It's related to the recent indications from RBI to also allow where banks will also be allowed to operate as brokers or corporate agents. So what is the implication that you see on the market when that happens?
If I look at the Indian market, Anika, my feeling is that it is very underpenetrated, like 0.7% GDP, one of the lowest in the world. I think right now the issue is not of a channel conflict or looking at issues in terms of who does what. The issue is more of as much as we can enable distribution, as much as we can open the space, and as much as we can encourage people to look at personal insurances, increase penetration in the country, it is going to be good. There also has been a direct correlation between the growth of general insurance industry and the GDP growth of the country, because it adds to the economic value of the country. I would welcome any move which would increase penetration and increase the reach, be it the move of banks being allowed or having the option to look at a broking model which is there, or allowing other financial entities like mutual funds or CAs to look at selling insurance, because they already have a certified approval from a different regulator. So if all that can be done and we can open up distribution more, it will be very good for the industry and for the economy.
Thank you. I would now like to ask the panelists to share the thoughts that you have on innovations and where you think the industry has the opportunity to improve further. I would like to start with Srinidhi Murthy and ask him to share his thoughts on the insurance market.
Thank you, ma'am. One of the ideas, which I thought about was, compared. This is regarding motor insurance. Now, motor insurance, the underwriting is pretty, streamlined as of right now. And what I was thinking was, maybe you could have kiosks at petrol pumps, and mainly in petrol pumps or maybe in shopping malls as well, where existing customers can instantly, renew their policy. Because one of the problems facing the industry, what I've heard is problem with renewals all the time. So if you have a convenience with that, when people go get their tanks topped up, or for a general service or something, and you have a kiosk readily available there, along with periodic reminders to them that the policy is lapsing or something, so they can definitely I think it would definitely help them out more in renewing it then and there. Maybe the process would be longer for a new policy, but the existing customers who just have to get renewed, I was thinking that that should help them out.
I'm impressed, Srinidhi, because actually you just gave me a thought in lines of the bank ATMs which came up and increased the services and took out service to the doorstep of customers. In fact, we did experiment with the outlet. At HPCL, you have Bajaj Allianz people at quite a few outlets, where they're helping issue policies or renew it. In fact, if I look at the two-wheeler renewal ratio for the industry, it will be around 30%, which actually means 70% of two-wheelers on the road are not insured with anybody. Maybe it's an issue of convenience. Maybe it's an issue where our distribution does not reach out to them. And it provides some kiosks like this, it can actually work out. We have the technical competence to do so. Maybe we'll experiment with a couple of kiosks, and we'll enhance our reach on the network of petrol pumps that we have, and have a look at it. But it's a good idea. We'll definitely try and see how it picks up. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite our customer from person joining us from LMV, Pradeep Sinha, to share your thoughts on innovations for the insurance industry, keeping in mind that you have a broad variety of experiences, not only within the country, but also outside the country.
No, I'm sorry, I've not been able to understand the question. Tapan, can you help me out?
Boss, what she was asking is that you have a huge variety of exposure, knowledge base. What do you think that should the industry should do to go to the next level, or Bajaj Allianz should do go to the next level, or what is something good that you've seen in international market which you feel is not happening in India, or as a client, what do you feel is your pain area which should be addressed?
Okay, sure. Tapan, what I basically feel is that what has happened in the market is post de-tariffing is that the entire competition basically has been premium rate centric. Now, basically, while premium will always remain a differentiator in days to come, cover will become important. So it will be rate-based cover, and then risk-based cover, and then cover-based rating. So cover is going to be an important factor. You might have already seen that most of the important clients have started pushing towards more and more cover, which are basically incommensurate with what you find in the international market. We are doing a lot of placement in the Middle East and in certain other parts of the world. And to be candid with you, what we have observed is that our Indian policies in many respects are basically more circumscribed and restricted in comparison to what you find it to be there. Maybe we have not outgrown our collective mentality which we grew up with so far as the tariff is concerned. So we have to come out of that. Our underwriting now needs to be a little more nimble spirited and more improvised. The type of rigidity that we see with regard to the present underwriting, that has to fundamentally go. We need to increase our capacity with regard to the reinsurance, but along with the capacity, we should also try to basically bring up our level of underwriting with international benchmarking, basically, which is like, for instance, if you are doing offshore construction or say a barge laying pipeline for a vessel for 170 or 180 million dollar, supposing it all goes to overseas market today, tomorrow it comes within the Indian market, we should also know from the underwriting and claims point of view as to fundamentally how to handle these things. And what I also feel is, especially from the insurance company's point of view, and they will be able to retain very many large clients, especially those whom they have on a direct basis, is to improve their advisory role. Since I myself come from the same insurance company as you do, this advisory role generally has tended to be relatively a little weaker, and that is where the brokers basically come in. Nothing wrong with regard to the brokers, but where the insurers want to look forward to a more steady relationship as such, I think this advisory role will play a big part. And if I were to put, I would say that an insurer like you should try to integrate within yourselves the good qualities of the broker which they have, whereby they come in between the insurer and the insured. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. I think that was bang on. I fully endorse your view. Though now a lot of integration is happening with the learning of international markets, but there are two issues which you have pointed out. Technical competency has to increase in the Indian market. Second, our mindset of the typical tariff and restricting our solutions to that has to change. And customers should have that kind of advisory information in terms of what more can be done. I think this is really bang on, and that's something that we have to work as industry, as a company. In fact, I was mentioning to the regulators a couple of days back that time has come when the product wording should also be made free now.
Sure.
It is that I think because the product wording is not getting free, the only competition is happening in the market is on price, which is not right. In fact, the point which you mentioned, the prices, the way they have tumbled down, and if the product doesn't have the right pricing, industry with a combined ratio over 115%, when I'm looking at international markets or the Asian markets, I think we're the most expensive industry which should be there. And that is why we see a lot of investors are not very comfortable with the industry as such. Pricing has to be correct. The differentiation has to be on technical knowledge. It has to move to products, and it has to move to advisory role and providing solutions. And companies have to work pretty hard on this and enable their competency to reach to that level. I think very valid point made, and that is why I say that you are one of the stalwarts of the industry, and you have that exposure to come out of this.
No, thanks, Tapan. If you could just give me half a minute, I won't take more time. You see, what this market, in our collective wisdom, we do not seem to realize is that the cover should take primacy over premium. That is why you are fully aware of there is an artificial restriction with regard to this 2,500 crore thing with regard to the project and fire policy, where you cannot give manuscript wording. And as a result of what is happening, you see, we have very many large plants below 2,500 crore, but state of the art with Japanese collaboration, where we have been trying to get better wordings, but because of this file and use and other problems, I do not know where the fault line remains. With the insurer, reinsurer with regard to the treaty or IRDA, but the point is, you see, premium is important, but if the covers are not there, what is happening is that you are basically punching a gaping loophole in the policy, as a result of which it results in self-absorption of the risk by the concerned insured, and this can be basically a very risky proposition. Somehow, this is one area which has not been fully appreciated in the market, and we are still not collectively realizing that our cover should be basically of international standard, and wherever we do not have the cover, fundamentally what is happening is we are putting insured basically to a great disadvantage. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Your point taken, and I, at least from my side, assure and promise you that I'll be pushing this agenda. I also strongly believe that the industry has reached a scenario where the products should also be made free now, and the insurance company should work actively in using their competency to come out with solutions the way you have mentioned. So this is my promise to you. I, from my side, will at least be taking this up in all forums and pushing it. And I hope that we have an early solution on this. But thank you. I think all these issues are very relevant, very strong, and very relevant to the Indian industry as a whole. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tapan. Thanks.
We have a question coming in that I would like to direct at Renuka. It's regarding the health insurance policy, and the question is whether there should also be a grace period in the health insurance policy similar to it being the case in the life insurance policy. Renuka, what are your thoughts on this?
That's a good point, but the existing health insurance policies do have a grace period of 30 days for renewal. So that facility is already there in the existing health insurance policies.
Okay, thank you. Another question that came in is, do you think there's a need for a new category of insurance product, and if so, which one?
This question has come from Nitesh through the Twitter. Nitesh, I think one, if I look at the number of products which are there in the Indian market, would be over about 200 such products would be there in the market. But if I look at 99% of business would be happening through the top 10 to 12 products only. I think the problem, if I look at it, is, let's say a simple product which I really like a lot and I feel is very well priced and everybody has it, is a home insurance product, which I definitely feel that is required in a country like India. But you'll be surprised to note that the penetration of home insurance in India by people who can afford home insurance is just 2%. While if we look at international markets, the penetration of home insurance is over 95%. The issue which I believe is that the good products are already there. Can the distribution, can the industry create an awareness where people can benefit out of it? I read so much about chain snatching. I read so much about, let's say, the Uttarakhand floods when it happened. You will be again surprised that only 10% of the buildings out there were covered, 90% were not covered. Or when I see the Bhuj earthquake which had happened earlier, again look at the number of buildings that are covered and home insurance are covered, it's very minuscule. It's not that incidents are not happening in India. It's not that the customers don't require it, and the products are priced so well. It's about 3,000 to 4,000 rupees a year kind of coverage which would be required for an average home. But still, the penetration is dismally low. It's more an issue of distribution and awareness currently than looking at new product categories. I see that you mentioned about expensive gadgets. It's already covered under the home insurance, but there has to be more sophistication and understanding of the cover there, because I think most of the gadgets, the price really drops in 3 years' time. 3 or 4 years later, then what would be the settlement in terms of claim is the issue which comes up there. But fundamentally, if you ask me, covers and good products are there in the market, but I believe that awareness level, distribution capability is very weak in the industry, and that has to be strengthened more currently. But your point taken, and I'll try and see what you have mentioned about the expensive gadgets. How do we make a cover which is more relevant to the customers? Because currently I see that if you insure a laptop, after third year of a renewal, if something goes wrong with the laptop, the amount paid is so low that it leads to more frustration and customer dissatisfaction than a pressure there. So we have to see how do we cater to that kind of scenario. But thank you for your comment and question.
Another question that came in through Twitter from Kashish is, would you be able to visit colleges and insurance or other educational institutions to share the insurance principle and your insights with the students?
Yeah, that is something very close to my heart. I love to do as much as possible. At least in a couple of months' time, I do make it to some colleges where I'm invited to speak to them. I believe this is an amazing industry, but the amount of talent in the industry is still less. Unfortunately, when I ask this question to a lot of people that what is that you're looking for in industry, most of them come out with an FMCG kind of scenario. But insurance industry, though on the face of it looks simple, but like if we heard the interaction which we had with Mr. Sinha, behind it is very complex. It requires a lot of experts from engineering line, from people of medical background. Like you saw, we have a doctor as an employee, you have MBAs, you have engineers. It's a very complex system at the back to come out with those simple products and some complex for industrial bets. We as an industry would love to have more talent coming into this. And the industry has not yet reached its potential. I think in the next 20, 30 years, this will still keep on growing and the required talent will be huge. So I'll be very happy to go and talk about it at places. Thank you.
Another question that came in from Vishal in Pune is that there is an approach, he's proposing an approach, an algorithmic approach to source customers and through a concept that's called market-based analysis, which, as he says, will help identify the probability of what policies a customer is likely to buy next. What are your thoughts on this, especially in relation to the data availability in the market?
It's a good thought, Vishal. I think if you look at the way analytics is being used or big data management has been done to find the probability of a customer buying the next product is being used extensively, be it a banking industry or be it a life industry. In the general industry, my feeling is still, as I mentioned, the penetration for relevant products, be it health, be it home, is so low that I don't have to really work hard to find out the propensity. Every customer I talk to has that need. My reaching out to the customer, talking to the customer today as an industry is something I feel is we are still dismal. But we have started using analytics. As I mentioned, we don't have KYC norms for the general industry, which again we're talking to the regulator to get it on. Is that the data quality is very poor, but still on that we have worked on it and we have been trying to reach out to customers to talk to them on the propensity to buy. Early results seems fairly okay, not very exciting as such as I mentioned to you. But if we can get the distribution right and we can get this capability right and the information from customers more accurate, I think then it can become big. And developed markets have seen it being used very effectively and it's pretty huge. But in a country like India, I think we have a long way to go before we reach that scenario.
Before we answer further questions that are coming up as we speak, I would now like to turn back to the panel and ask Mr. Mukund Davia to share his thoughts on innovations. Where do you think the general insurance industry currently has room to improve further?
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to talk to you, sir. One of my friends from Delhi has asked one question. Bajaj is very innovative and doing a lot of things for the customer. He wanted to have the policy for the pet, which is a very emotional thing in everybody's house. Would you like to brief on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Davir, for the question. In fact, when you're looking at householder coverage, we have been thinking about including pets now because we see them actively being part of household and the requirements of it. In fact, the new product that we have filed with the regulator has this pet insurance involved in the householder itself, because we do believe that the need is there and we should provide a solution for that. So it will be coming in a couple of months' time. Thank you for this question. We'll be adding this on.
Thank you.
Another question that came in live is related to the CSR activities that the organization is conducting. The question is whether we are planning to do anything.
Bobita, it's a very relevant question. In fact, you look at the new companies Act coming up also. Now all companies have to look at CSR as a kind of initiative which they're taking, and as we should also be going forward. But if I look at my promoters, be it Allianz or Bajaj, they're actively involved in CSR activities. And in fact, Allianz had done something for the Bombay children which were underprivileged, and also for Chennai in terms of covering or providing them solutions for their requirements. But if I look at generation industry as a whole, it basically is, in a way, though it's a commercial industry, which does look at business in the way it is. But if you actually look at the root of it, it actually provides a lot of solution to people in need. In fact, when I started working in generation industry, initially I thought I'm entering into business, and I was also head for claims for some time. And when I used to give the claim checks, I actually realized that it is beyond just getting business and settling claims. You actually have that emotional connect with the claimants, and in times of need, if you can give them that support, it makes a huge difference. For me, it has been a CSR kind of activity right through my entire career, and that's the way I still feel for all the customers that we have and the solution to provide for them. But yes, we'll be working on it, and we're already looking at different options. So one of it would be either we look at ambulances, or we look at how do we cater to on this segment. So definitely the next 1 or 2 years, you'll be seeing us come out very strong in a CSR capability.
Another question is related to the combination of life and general insurance industry, the insurance companies under the same umbrella. Where do you see cross-sell opportunities, and do you see a likelihood of that happening in the future?
If I look at the Indian companies, I think we would be one of the rare companies where for life in general we have the same promoters. As per regulator, we have to have separate entities for servicing and providing that. But the regulator has allowed for common product between the two companies with certain conditions to be there. Going forward, I think these integrations will happen. Customer would have to be provided services by any means, and whatever forums and whatever collaborations can happen will be there. To some extent, we have it currently, but we'll strengthen it further, as mentioned by you. Thank you for your comment.
I would now like to ask Mr. Mayur Shetty to share your thoughts on the innovation potential for the Indian general insurance market.
Thank you very much. The way I see it is that it's the personal lines of products, that's motor and health insurance, that's been driving growth in the industry. And my observations have been that there isn't a single country in the world that's really happy with the kind of health insurance that they have, or the health system that they have. And also with growing penetration, there is growing capacity build-up, and there's also growing utilization, which leads to an increase in the cost. So I wanted your thoughts on how do you see this industry evolving? Do you feel that there is a risk that if you make a product that's too good for the customer, that there'll be higher utilization, and which will sort of push up costs? Because this is something where nobody seems to be having the right balance.
Yeah, Mayur, if you look at the challenge of health as a whole, the first policy I remember was in somewhere 86 by the name of Mediclaim, which came in, and that for a long time remained very dormant. There was not much of activity. But in the past now 7-8 years, if I'm right, health has suddenly come to high focus. The growth has been the highest in this LOP, and people are coming out with different solutions. They're still struggling to get the right pricing. It fluctuates, and you have seen how the group health ratios fluctuate. Sometimes it gets good, sometimes it gets bad. On a private or individual health also, I think the way people are still trying to get the right pricing and right covers there is something which I would still say the industry is struggling to get it right. But if I look at the progress in the past 4-5 years, and the kind of products that are coming out, and the way they are trying to look at a solution, it's very encouraging. and also the way the customer is responding in terms of buying these products is also very encouraging. I think one more challenge is the hospitals currently. There's no regulator for hospitals, but I think IID is coming out with a solution where they are looking at if the hospitals can be mentioned in terms of the price that they're looking for, in terms of procedures which has to be conducted, and can that also be bought in the ambit of overall the insurance industry providing solutions to customers. So I'll not be currently disappointed, though as you mentioned that it is not up to the mark as yet. I see a continuous evolution happening in this. Maybe it take a couple of years more before the underwriters get it right, and the solution for the customers are much better, and the unregulated part of the industry gets more regulated. It is evolving, and Mayur, the storm is already there. You just have to wait for some more time to get it or see it happening in a much better way. But from your point of view, as a customer, as a journalist, I think you have raised a very valid point. It's still much below the mark of where it should be. But from the industry perspective, I would say the work is on. Give us a couple of years more before it reaches to the level that you expect us to be in.
But where do you see the industry going to? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Sorry, Mayur, I missed your question.
My question was, how do you see this industry evolving? Do you see it evolving towards managed healthcare or some other form of co-pay system, or how do you see things going forward?
I think unfortunately the voice is getting missed out. What I could understand is currently now you're saying how the industry is evolving overall, or for the health, how it will be for health, how will it involve? Okay. Now, if I look at the health, there are a couple of things which are still missing. One would be from a pure customer, the OPD part is still very weak, which is a major thing. If I look at dental, that is also not very strong in terms of coverage provided. If I look at diseases like diabetes, hypertension, which normally, if I look at an Indian population, most of them would be currently there, but that cannot lead to be life-threatening. How do we provide solution to that? In terms of coverages, when there are some illnesses which require high specialization, how do we look at that? And finally, I think when somebody is ill and they have to go for procedure, that time, how do we reduce the hassles to a very minimal is what has to be looked into. So all this integration has to happen from a product basis. Then the other issues is after care issues which are there, or how do we provide better solutions to customers so that they can reach the hospitals, or something life-threatening happens, how it can be taken care of. Or let's say senior citizens. Now a lot of senior citizens are staying alone. Unlike in the past in India where families are more joint families, you have more nuclear families coming in now. How do we provide solutions, something they feel uneasy about, and do we have a kind of a single touch call center where if they press that button, you have emergency services reaching them as fast as possible and taking care of them. So there are quite a few things, Mayur, which people are looking at and working on. And you already see some early products coming on these directions. And going forward, I think it will be a very crucial industry. And it's actually going to, I think I'll give it around 7 to 10 years for it to reach some kind of evolution of a more matured way in it is. But it will evolve. And health would be the largest line of business. It will actually overtake motor if you give it 10 to 15 years the way it is going currently. So no company can not focus on it and not provide solutions for it. So it has to evolve, Mayur.
A question that is relating to the topic, Mayur, that you mentioned as well, the insurance, the pure size of the country, and the penetration challenge that occurs from that. Tapan, how do you plan on, where do you see opportunities to address that? Due to with a large segment of Indian population not being insured, how do you plan on reach out to the countries?
Yeah. I think one thing which is coming up is the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and beyond that also. We don't have a definition of tier 4, tier 5 cities. But if you take it at that kind of definition, if I look at the industry earlier, the entire generation industry, it was focused maximum on district headquarters. It was not beyond that, because it was restricted to areas which had either industries or it had sale of vehicles. But look at the rural spend now, it is more than the urban spend. somewhere the industry, we have to go beyond our traditional market and look at providing solutions to the rural belt also, which is coming in a big way. FMCGs have got it right. Quite a few consumer markets have delivered well, but generation industry is still way behind. I think one way we can look at is riding the financial inclusion wave, which the bank is working on, looking at business correspondence and the other models which is there. In fact, IIDA is also pushing it very aggressively, and people are still trying to find a solution of cost-effective solution provided at these centers. I strongly believe that technology will play a major role in increasing the penetration in these markets, and I think the work is on. It's about somebody getting the code right and taking it on, but it's come into high priority areas for most of the companies, and we also as a company are working aggressively on it, and we should be there, and that will actually help increase the penetration, as you mentioned.
As you mentioned, technology will help increase the penetration further. I would like Nikunj to share his views on ways to improve the general insurance industry, or where you see opportunities for Bajaj Allianz to improve.
As we discussed, I think looking forward, the best way to deal with a large number of uninsured public would be to simplify the process of buying an insurance, simplify the process of filing a claim and settlement of claim. As on date, what we are offering is a limited way in which a customer can buy a policy. Ease of transaction going forward should be working as a way of increasing customer awareness, more people buying a policy from insurance company. That can be online portal, it can be a mobile application, it can be a kiosk as mentioned earlier. And beyond transaction, we also have to involve with customer. The web portals which many companies offer are mainly related to transaction. But after buying a policy, I think we have to involve with customer in giving a value addition services, wellness programs, and keep customer engaged so that he basically understands the value of buying a policy and keeps renewing the same.
I think a very relevant thought put very simply. And Nikunj, I see you in your working firm, you actively look into these, and I've actually met some of your customers and I've seen that the way you provide them value-added services is there. Simplification of products and reach to customer has to happen, and the ease of transaction has to happen. I think when I looked at it initially and when we started looking at the digital part of it, I've also started seeing the difference. A lot of customer testimonials coming in when we simplified the process. They were delighted to see that. In fact, I do not know, Nikunj, if you are still very young, but Mr. Sena would remember 15 years back, if you had a motor car claim, you'd actually have to go to the issuing policy branch to get a surveyor appointed. And after you got your vehicle repaired, you take all the salvage to the branch, right, the bumpers and radiators to the branch, you get it deposited, and then the claim would be paid. Today, when I talk about it, most of you would laugh. Was it true? But today, if I look at customers, it's cashless. You just walk into it, gets repaired, and you can just walk out of the repair center with your vehicle. If I look at cashless and health, the way it has come up. So, to be fair to the industry, in about 12 to 15 years, quite a lot has happened. Quite a lot of ease has come up. Quite a lot of solutions have come up. It's evolving. But as I said, even this should not make us happy, because we're still way behind what all can actually be done to take it to the next level. And as you rightly mentioned, this should be our high focus area. Thank you for your inputs, Nikunj. But I saw Mr. Davi raise his hand. Mr. Davi, you have some question?
Sir, I just wanted to know one thing. Is IRA taking any action to control about the health expenses? So by which we can control our health premium?
I think Mr. Davi, you raised a very interesting thought. There are two things which is disturbing from an industry perspective. One is the frauds which are coming up now. I remember earlier the frauds in the motor segment was very high. But today if I look at the frauds in the motor segment has come down considerably because of the systems evolving. But health is pretty high. In fact, there are some segments in the country, I don't want to name it right here, where the percentage of fraud to the genuine claims is about 20-25% is that high, which is there. And the frauds is not only from customer perspective, it's also from hospitals, it's also from people in between, which is there. We're actively working on how do we get that to minimal, because that will itself lead to saving of premium for the existing customers, because in the end the fraud cost also gets borne by customers in terms of premium. So companies can get this right, would actually be getting doing a better customer service. So there are two places where we have taken it up actively. One is as an industry from the council. We are trying to create a common platform to address fraud issues. Second, from the regulatory perspective, again, they're trying to also grade the hospitals and look at the common services to be provided with the hospital and the price for it. So work has started in that respect. The pace has to pick up. Some early success has been there, but it has to work very aggressively. So thank you for your comment.
Thank you very much.
Nikunj, as you mentioned that currently, especially in the online space, the process is mainly transactional. Renuka, do you have any insight on value-added services? Because from a health administration team, I understand you are also working on that. Which are other opportunities how the customer can experience having a health insurance policy despite being hospitalized?
Yes, Anika. Of course, as a from health insurance team's perspective, we have been actively working on the value-added services that we can provide to our customers. The basic thought behind this was that how do we offer additional value to add value to our policies besides our superior claim servicing and the cashless facilities, etc., that we provide. What can we do additionally to people who may or may not claim with us, typically? That is where the value-added services concept was brought about. And today we are offering value-added services at at a host of centers like diagnostic centers, dental clinics, opticals, and the utilization has picked up. People have truly appreciated the value-added services that we have been providing, and we are looking to increase this penetration in this area as well going forward.
Thank you, Renuka. Anika, do you think I'll just quickly take up some questions there on the screen, which is coming through now, because we are running short of time now, just about 9 minutes. Now we have on the pet, I think we have mentioned that. Then we have Ragini mentioning, I don't remember seeing any of your ads on TV or radio. Why don't you guys advertise on these spaces as well? Ragini, that's a good comment. I think we have been a strong believer of the word of mouth. So our focus was on enhancing customer experiences, and that would be enhancing our brand going forward. The radio part, I do agree. On the television, I think there's so many commercials that somewhere it gets lost out. We'll do look at radio to talk about what more can we offer to customer, or maybe to increase the awareness level of the kind of policy that they look for. So thank you. We'll try and look into the session you mentioned. Then we have Harish mentioning that insurance companies can tie up or appoint doctors who are practicing as family physicians to promote health insurance. What about that idea? In some cities, Hyderabad, I remember one of my friends who is a distributor, he tied up with a lot of doctors to look into this business, and he came out with good success. I think that at some places started happening where they involve doctors also to give advice on health insurance. It's a good idea, Harish. We'll start looking at it more actively and maybe see and talk to them as to how do we propagate the need of health insurance. Because I said the penetration is below 10%, so if we can actually use as many people who are close to this segment to take it forward, it would be a good idea to do so. Then we have Prashant, who is mentioning that the insurance company should work with local RTO to promote road safety, a week to minimize accidents, which is there. Prashant, I'd like to inform you that I think on Drive Safely, we as a company have been one of the leading players in the market. In fact, in Delhi, just about a couple of months back, we had on about our lakhs of cycle, we put those reflectors because what we felt is that a lot of accidents happen on highway when a cyclist is returning home after work, and because of the twilight position, the driver is not able to see it very clearly, and there are a lot of deaths happening. So in jointly with the Delhi police, we ensure that we could put as many reflectors possible on cycles which are moving on highways. Also, we have on different platforms talked about the use of helmet. In fact, if you come to our corporate office and if you're not wearing a helmet, the guard would not allow you to enter the office also. So we're trying our level best to talk about it and take this forward, because it has a huge impact. I think just the use of helmet itself saves a lot of lives. So that is something we're actively working on, and we'll do more as mentioned by you.
We're now coming to the last 5 minutes of the session, and a common topic that came up on the screen on Twitter and on various other communication platforms is, how do you share the knowledge that we hold with those around? One of the major issues seems to be an under-education of people in the market. So that was raised by various students and others. What do you think about
Okay, I think that's something which is relevant. We should look at some kind of certification courses which is not there from a pure industry perspective. Maybe as a company we start some online courses, certification, where people can access and enhance the knowledge or ask questions, and we can take it on. In fact, also what we can do is start using such mediums as Google Hangouts to get experts to talk about different claims, different scenarios. And going forward, we would try and involve experts of different industries also, and companies also, to talk about that, because it's more of an issue from a customer perspective, and we can't restrict it just to one company. So those are the commitments that I have, and we shall try and take it forward on that.
Thank you. Now I would like to ask you to close the session with your final thoughts. Maybe take one last question, and then we would be winding up. So the last question is, we stay away from insurance and we don't understand legal terms. How could you simplify this for a layperson?
Kashish, this is something which is a very good thought. I think when I read the insurance contract myself, those and Mr. Sinha and Mayur would agree on this, because I've seen Mayur also speak about it, Mr. Sinha also speak about it. It's very complex. It starts as you herewith, underwith to sign kind of complicated jargons which comes in. Policy wordings have been simplified to a large extent now, what we file, and the legalities of it has to go. I think if we look at a very simple thing, we should just say that you are covered for this, or we look at, you're excluded for this, and the policy covers this. And that is all. We should just simplify it as much as possible. And I think it was mentioned by Nikunj also when he said simplification has to happen. And complexity of legal words have to go. This we are working on, and we'll make it more simple going forward. Thank you, Mayur. Thank you, Mr. David. Thank you, Nikunj. Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Thank you, Anika. I think it was such a pleasure having you all. Though the time is less, so we could have talked about this and debated on this for hours going forward. But I thought we start this as a channel. And I was also looking at collaborating with different companies to set up expert networks. So we have claim experts of different companies or under the different companies, and we open it to the customers at large, where they can ask issues which they feel which is there. I think this feedback mechanism has to work very strong if we want the industry to go further. But as a company at Allianz, it's my commitment that we'll keep on doing this and taking all the input and see how we evolve the company to the next level. Each of it is very valuable. I thank each of my panelists. All the questions that was asked from Twitter, from Facebook, which came to us, it shows that I think the awareness expectations from industry and what we should do to take it forward. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.